You know what's funny about airports? They don't really start when you show your ID. They started hours ago when you booked the ticket, packed your bag, and walked into a place built to keep people moving. And because the machine has to keep moving, nobody has time to explain the little frictions that slow people down. So today, I'm breaking down 12 airport secrets in the same order you actually live them, from the moment you hit purchase, to security, to the gate, to that final sprint where everyone suddenly thinks they're training for a medal. And secret number 7 sounds painfully boring, but it's quietly ruined trips for a lot of people, because one smudged, half-readable prescription label can turn into a whole problem right when you need that medication the most. All right, secret number 1 starts before you even leave your house. Most people think the airport notices them when they show an ID. But for some travelers, the extra scrutiny starts way earlier at home when you click Confirm Purchase. Because once a ticket exists, it's not just a seat, it's a pattern. Airlines and security systems can use booking details to build a basic risk picture before you ever step into the terminal. Not a conspiracy, just systems designed to flag trips that don't match the most common travel flow, so staff can verify things quickly when you arrive. And if you've ever wondered why some people get extra questions right at check-in or end up in secondary at security without doing anything dramatic, this is often where it starts. What tends to trigger it is a mismatch, a very last-minute booking, or payment details that don't line up cleanly. For example, you're flying from New York to London, but the card's billing country is China. Or the ticket is paid with a card that isn't yours, a prepaid or gift card, or a virtual card the system doesn't recognize the same way. None of that automatically means problem. It just means you may get an extra check so they can confirm everything matches. And knowing that ahead of time can save you a ton of time and stress. If you booked late or your payment looks unusual, company card, spouse booked it, just be ready with one clean sentence that matches the booking, then stop talking. When your story lines up with the reservation, you move on fast. And that sets up secret number 2, because the next word people hear and instantly hate is random. And it doesn't always work the way you think. This one happens inside the checkpoint flow, right there in the lane. Random screening can work 2 ways. Sometimes it's truly random. Airports need a certain number of extra checks to keep the process unpredictable. Other times, it's basically a quick second step triggered by what's happening in the lane. And that quick step can snowball. If they have to do a bag search or extra screening, it can turn into 30, even 60 minutes on a busy day, not long enough to make you miss the flight if your timing is tight. So what actually triggers that extra step? Sometimes it's just small lane moments. You show up flustered because you sprinted from the shuttle, or you start rearranging things mid-instruction. So when you hear, "You were selected at random," it might simply mean you got pulled for an extra step in the checkpoint flow. Either way, the fastest path through stays the same. Make the check easy to finish. Follow instructions in order. Don't dig into pockets while someone's talking to you. Keep movements simple and readable, because the smoother you are, the faster you're back on your way. And if you have access to TSA PreCheck, Clear, Global Entry, or a trusted traveler program where you fly, it can reduce how often you hit these slow-down moments. Not a shield, just fewer surprise detours. And here's where it gets funny, because the next red flag isn't your ticket or your attitude, it's your outfit. At security, the scanner isn't judging your style. It's reading shapes and density, and bulk creates extra steps. Thick outer layers are the #1 time killer. And wearing your heaviest layer to save suitcase space is completely normal. Cold city to warm destination. Everybody does it. The problem is, in a lot of airports, you're going to be asked to take it off anyway. So if you walk up wearing a hoodie under a jacket, plus a scarf and gloves, the checkpoint turns into a mini wardrobe change. And when people get flustered, they forget the stuff hiding in plain sight. Phone in the chest pocket, battery pack in the sleeve pocket, earbuds tangled in the zipper pull, then they clear the scanner and end up on a little side quest because something beeped. Metal is the other big culprit, and it's usually the sneaky kind. Belt buckle, heavy watch, chunky jewelry. I've watched someone get flagged 3 times in a row because of one tiny decorative chain on their pants. They kept stepping back in like, it's fine now. And the machine was like, nope, still chain. 5 minutes later, they're barefoot, annoyed, and holding their belt like it personally betrayed them. So the move isn't dress fancy or dress sloppy. It's dress like you want 0 surprises. Skip heavy metal accessories, choose shoes you can slip off without a wrestling match, and keep your outer layer one smooth motion, easy, off, into the bin, done. The easier you are to screen, the less time you spend getting pulled into bonus activities you didn't sign up for. And even if you do everything right, you can still get flagged, especially if you've got medical hardware or a device the scanner needs a human to confirm. This is the moment that throws people. You step into the body scanner, do the hands up pose, and then someone says, step aside. Your brain goes, what did I do? Usually, nothing. The scanner is simply reacting to something it can't interpret cleanly, something that doesn't match the standard outline it's trained to expect. Medical hardware is the biggest one. Knee replacements, surgical screws, braces, insulin pumps, CGMs, ostomy supplies. Especially in the US, TSA sees these every single day. It's common. It's routine. It just means the machine flagged an area and a human has to resolve it. There's also a sneaky category that feels unfair because it's so normal. Heat and moisture. A heat patch, a hand warmer, or even a damp tissue in a pocket can sometimes make fabric sit differently and trigger a quick flag. It's not the most common reason, but it happens. So how do you handle it without making it awkward? Keep it short and early. Before you step in, you can say, I have a medical implant, or I'm wearing a medical device. If you have a card, great, but don't stress if you don't. This isn't rare. If you do get pulled for a pat-down, focus on speed and clarity. Ask for a private screening if you want one, and let them walk you through the steps. The smoother you are, the faster it ends. And I'm curious, has this ever happened to you? Drop it in the comments. What set it off? Implant, belt, random sweaty hoodie pocket? I want to hear the weirdest one. And secret number 5 matters because a lot of people blame every delay on machines, when the biggest factor is still the simplest one: the way you move, react, and handle yourself in line. Have you ever seen someone breeze through security while another person gets, hold up, step over here? Same airport, same machines, totally different outcome. A big reason is simple. Behavior is the one signal humans can read instantly, no technology required. And before this turns into, don't be nervous, let's be clear. People get nervous for 1,000 harmless reasons. Being late, hating crowds, anxiety, neurodivergence, just a noisy line. None of that equals danger. What it can do is create confusion. Security lines are built around fast, predictable movements. When your actions look unpredictable, stopping suddenly, turning around a lot, digging in a bag while someone's talking, whispering urgently, it forces the lane to slow down and figure you out. And that's when you get the extra attention nobody wants. So what's the fix? Not turning yourself into a robot. Just one simple idea. Make your actions easy to read. Move in one direction. Keep your hands visible when you're being spoken to. If you need to grab something, say it first. My ID is in this pocket. Then do it slowly. If you're overwhelmed, pick one anchor. Breathe out longer than you breathe in, and keep your eyes on the bins in front of you. No intense eye contact needed. Just look oriented, like you're following the flow. And one underrated trick: don't multitask at the worst moment. Security isn't the place to answer a call, repack your backpack, argue about the gate, and sip coffee while stepping into the scanner. Do one thing at a time, in the order the lane is moving. That's what smooth looks like. And sometimes extra attention doesn't happen in the lane at all. Sometimes it's a quiet tap on the shoulder and a walk to a door you didn't even notice. I'm talking about secret number 6. Do you know you can be escorted into a restricted back room with 0 warning, even if you haven't done anything clearly wrong? That's what throws people. Back rooms exist for a serious reason: privacy and speed. If they need to verify something, an ID detail, an item in your bag, a document that doesn't match perfectly, you can be quietly moved out of the public area, away from everyone's eyes, so the checkpoint keeps flowing and nobody makes a scene. The frustrating part is how vague it feels. We just need to check something. No timeline, No explanation you can use, just waiting. And the mistake people make here is going into debate mode. Arguing or refusing doesn't usually end the check, it usually upgrades it. A better approach is what I call boring professional. Short sentences, cooperative body language, practical questions. Start with, can you tell me what this is related to? If you need privacy, can we do this in a private area? If you're with someone, can I let my travel partner know where I am? And here's a visual example of how normal this can be. Imagine you've got a prescription bottle in your carry-on, but the label is half rubbed off. To you, it's obviously your medication. To someone verifying quickly, it's a container with missing info, and missing info is what triggers a side room check. If time matters, bring that up early in a practical way. My boarding time is at 3:40. What should I do so I don't miss it? That phrasing gets you guidance instead of friction. And the next one is the sneakiest trip ruiner, because it's not about security at all. It's about the one thing you can't replace easily once you land, your medication. This is the one people underestimate because it feels so basic. You're not bringing anything weird. You're just bringing medication. What could go wrong? A lot, in very boring ways. The biggest issue isn't that security is hunting for your prescription. It's the boring stuff. Travel rubs labels off, bottles get beat up, and pill organizers all look identical. When a label is too faded to confirm quickly, a simple moment turns into a verification moment. Even worse is when medication gets separated from the one thing that proves it belongs to you, the original container. People do it to save space, or to look organized, or because the bottle is huge and annoying. Then they end up with a handful of pills in a zip bag and a surprised face when someone has questions. And honestly, security isn't even the main danger here. The real disaster is losing access to your meds mid-trip. You can replace a t-shirt. You can't casually replace blood pressure medication, insulin supplies, seizure meds, or even certain inhalers when you're in a different state or a different country on a weekend. Here's the 30-second setup you do before leaving the house, and it pays you back with a much less painful trip. Keep anything truly important in your personal item, not your roller, because rollers get gate checked. Put it in one pouch you can grab in 2 seconds. Ideally, original container, label readable. If the label is rubbed off, take a clear photo of the label before you leave and keep it on your phone. That one photo can save you a lot of explaining. Pill organizer is fine for daily convenience. Just don't make it your only plan. Bring a backup strip or a couple days in original packaging. And keep a simple med list, name, dose, and what it's for. And now that you've got meds handled, we need to talk about the other thing everyone emotionally lets go too early. Checked luggage. Because the second you hand that bag over, it doesn't just disappear. It enters a scanning and sorting system that can send it on a little adventure of its own. The moment you slide that suitcase onto the belt, it enters the airport's backstage. Scanners, split-offs, and miles of conveyor that make your bag someone else's problem immediately. Most of the time, it's fine. But every bag has one job: be easy to read fast. When it isn't, the system routes it for a closer look. That's when people end up doing that thing at baggage claim, where you're the only one still staring at the carousel like it owes you money. Ever wonder why your suitcase shows up late when everyone else is already in an Uber? Here's the reality. It's often not bad luck. It's the X-ray image. Think of it like this: a suitcase that's packed like a solid brick, stuffed to the zipper, cords tangled into metal spaghetti, electronics buried in the middle, creates a messier X-ray image. And messier images are the ones that get slowed down. So pack for readability. Give the contents a little breathing room. Keep dense items from clumping into one spot. Don't wrap things in a way that makes the image harder to interpret. You're not packing neat, you're packing clear. And one serious rule, said plainly: anything you can't live without for a day should stay with you. Meds, essential chargers, keys, travel documents, and small valuables. If your checked bag takes a detour, your trip shouldn't go with it. Which brings us right into secret number 9. Because people buy TSA locks and slap on priority tags thinking, cool, my stuff is protected now. And that's not exactly how it works. Here's the misconception that gets people every year. A TSA lock and a priority tag feel like protection, like you just added armor to your suitcase. In reality, a TSA lock is mostly about convenience. It can let screening happen without them cutting your lock. And there's one situation I'm willing to bet a lot of you have seen. You pick up your suitcase. Everything inside is still there, but the lock is sitting a little crooked and the zipper looks slightly gapped. So yeah, TSA locks are genuinely useful, but are they a safety guarantee? Sadly, no. Priority tags are similar. In the best case, they help your bag move faster. In the real world, they often just put your bag into a different handling stream. Usually that's fine, but on tight connections, different can mean your bag is on a different cart than you are. Now the touchy one, valuables. Declaring something valuable can help on the paperwork side, claims, insurance, documentation, but it can also mean extra handling steps. And anytime a bag gets handled more, moved, tracked, transferred, there are simply more chances for delays or mistakes. That's not drama. That's logistics. So the rule stays boring and undefeated. If it's truly valuable, don't check it. Cameras, laptops, jewelry, critical work gear, keep it with you. If you have no choice and something expensive must be checked, do the adult backup. Take quick photos of the contents, note serial numbers, and consider separate insurance that covers the real value. You do not want to learn about liability limits at a baggage desk at midnight. And keep the outside low profile. The goal isn't to look fancy. The goal is to look like every other normal bag in the pile. And let's move to the gate, because this is where people relax too early, and the gate has a talent for punishing that. You can get through security like a pro and still lose the day at the gate. Not because you did something reckless, because the gate is where timing gets unforgiving and information changes on you. First, gates move. Sometimes it's obvious. Sometimes it happens while you're grabbing a snack, and the only clue is one quiet announcement that gets swallowed by the terminal noise. Your app might update, the screens might update, or one of them lags and you're standing at the old gate like, why is nobody else panicking with me? Second, the time on your ticket is not the time you should be walking up. Boarding doors close before departure. So when someone says, I was here at 4:05 and the flight was at 4:10, that might still be too late. The rough lesson is that on time and allowed on are two different things. Third, overhead bins fill up fast. And once the gate starts tagging carry-ons, you don't get to argue the bins into existence. If your meds, passport, chargers, or anything truly essential is buried in that carry-on, you've just created a problem at 30,000 feet. Here's the simple gate routine that saves people. Check your gate right after security, then check again shortly before boarding starts. Keep must-have items in your personal bag, the one that stays with you even if your carry-on gets tagged. And when boarding begins, stay close enough to hear changes. Headphones are fine, just keep one ear on the gate. If they do tag your carry-on, keep it transactional. Just ask, matter of fact, can I grab my medication and essentials real quick? Most agents hear that all day long. Try these on your next flight and come back here to tell me if it actually made your gate experience smoother. And if you've got your own gate-saving trick, drop it in the comments, share it with the rest of us. And once you see how the gate really works, secret number 11 clicks. Because when something goes sideways, the airline screen is quietly sorting passengers into who gets helped first. A lot of people assume your boarding pass is basically just your name and your seat. But when an agent pulls up your reservation, they can usually see your fare rules and booking channel, basic economy versus flexible, miles versus cash, direct versus third party. On a normal day, you'll never feel that difference. On a messy day, overbooking, cancellations, last-minute rebooking, that's when it matters, because it affects what the agent is allowed to do quickly. Here's a version that actually happens. A traveler books the cheapest fare through a third-party site. Everything's fine, until the flight is oversold and they don't get enough volunteers. Now the gate has to decide who stays and who gets moved, and the details on your reservation, fare rules, status, booking channel can affect how many options they can give you fast. So he ends up in the next flight conversation, while someone with more flexibility gets locked in sooner. It's not a personality contest. It's rules and constraints. So if you get involuntarily bumped, use one credibility-heavy question, but deliver it like you're ordering coffee, not starting a fight. Can you walk me through my compensation options under DOT rules for involuntary bumping? Then pause and let them answer. And if you want fewer headaches long-term, the boring strategy wins. Book direct when you can, and for trips where timing really matters, consider a ticket that gives you real flexibility. You're not paying for vibes, you're paying for options when the day goes sideways. Now, there's one last thing people rarely consider, and it has nothing to do with scanners or gates. It's about the notes airlines keep after a bad interaction. A lot of travelers assume that unless you're on some official government no-fly list, whatever happened on your last trip disappears the moment you land. Sometimes it doesn't fully reset. Airlines and airports can keep internal notes for operations and safety, incident reports, service notes, things meant to help staff handle problems consistently. And you're not always told when something gets documented. Here's how it can play out. You get into it with a gate agent, raise your voice, refuse an instruction, turn a delay into a confrontation. You might still fly that day, but the next time there's a problem, overbooking, a seat issue, tight timing, you may get the strict, no wiggle room version of policy. Less discretion. More, this is what we can do. So the smartest move isn't be nice for points. It's be strategic. Handle the moment like it could be documented. Keep it professional. Follow instructions first. If you need to complain, do it after the trip in writing, when you can be detailed without turning the airport into a scene. One more important distinction. If you think you're being repeatedly misidentified, like constant extra screening because your name matches someone else, that's when DHS TRIP, Traveler Redress Inquiry Program, can be worth filing. It's meant for ongoing screening issues that feel like a mistaken identity loop. And here's the line to remember before you fly again. One heated moment can echo longer than you think, so don't give the system a reason to remember you for the wrong thing. All right, that's the whole set, 12 secrets. But really, it's just how airports work when nobody has time to explain the fine print. If you want the smooth version of travel, it's not about luck. It's about reducing friction. Pack so you're easy to screen. Keep essentials on you. Stay in the loop at the gate and handle problems like a pro when they happen. If this helped, hit like, subscribe, and share it with the friend who always says, "We have plenty of time." And drop a comment. What's the one airport moment you still think about?